Hello and welcome back to Rams Talk, the preview show. We are looking forward to the Lincoln away game this Saturday. It honestly feels like yesterday when I had you on, Jake, to be honest, just before Christmas.
Yes.
We're feeling festive. You had Scabala fever, as you said. How's that diagnosis going?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling a lot better now, mate. I've lost all my symptoms. 4 defeats in a row is pretty sobering, not going to lie. I feel like I've just done, best part of 3 weeks in intensive rehab. But I'm good, mate. You're right. It feels like yesterday. I feel like I was, and it's in the same haircut cycle as well. So it literally does feel like it was yesterday. But yeah, no, glad to be on, mate, and looking forward to Saturday now after a couple of glimpses of hope on away at Wycombe.
Yeah, exactly. Got a late equaliser. We were just talking off air and think that should have probably been 3 points there, which is an unfortunate situation. But I guess to stop the rot is the most important thing, and a chance to get back to winning ways or drawing ways maybe this weekend against Derby. Let's touch on the game if we can.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we talked about it previously, and we talked through the team, and I guess there was a bit of hope there that you'd come to Pride Park and get a result. What was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, and you know what? I sort of thought that was justified. The first half an hour, I thought we were really good. I don't think Derby were too threatening. They had, the odd foray into the penalty area. There was no, Lucas Jensen wasn't pulling off a load of saves to keep us in it. We weren't blocking things off the line. We were well in the game. We had a couple of moments where if the final ball had just been a bit better, we would have, had opportunities. I can remember Sorensen had a chance really early on that he just needed to shoot, and he decided to try and pull it back. Then the goal came, and this has been a bit of a theme for Lincoln over the festive period. The goal came, and the heads sort of drop a little bit. I thought we then did really well to get back into it. Going to Pride Park and getting a goal down is not an easy thing to do, especially when they've got the support that they had. I mean, I don't think any Derby fan can have any complaints about the penalty. For me, it was right in front of me. It was a stupid tackle to make by Joe Ward. Go in at 1-1, think, right, okay, can we do it again? Can we get another result? And I was pretty confident first sort of 10, 15 minutes of the second half, because we were literally not penning you in, but we were very much, the play was pretty much down that north stand park of the ground, and we were creating chances. We had one, I think it was Ethan Hamilton, that was well blocked by Cashin, and then the goals come. The goal from the corner, which I'm not too pleased about. I think there's a hint of offside from the pass from Mendes Lang to Hurahan, because he plays the ball forward. I think he is offside. There's no one on the line. Such is life, and from there on in, it's a great ball in, and we need to defend it better. And then the third goal, well, I said to you pretty much after it went in, I said, he's about a mile offside. And you were like, oh, no, he's not. And then you watched it back and you went, oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's 3 miles offside. And I said this on that League One podcast. When you go to a place like Derby, you need the officials to be up to it. And I don't think that linesman was up to it that night. But I can't complain that we didn't win. I think a draw would have been a good result. You probably had the better of the chances without the goals. So, such is life. It should have been a draw, but I'm sort of happy to concede the fact that you were the better team on the night and probably should have beaten us. But it's a shame you did it in a legal way, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, James Collins spends his life offside, I think, in all fairness. He's always getting caught offside. And when you text it through, I kind of thought, it's marginal. But yeah, looking back, I think he probably was.
Yep.
And as we've seen on a couple of occasions, obviously we alluded to earlier, a poor refereeing decision that meant you didn't win the game last time out. The refereeing at times in this division is just baffling. But I think that's a problem in this country and probably world football as well. The level of refereeing just isn't what it was, unfortunately. So I guess you win some, you lose some, and we were happy to come out of that game with 3 points. Definitely after what you mentioned there, a terrible decision by Joe Ward just to give you a foot back in the game.
I was all for it, Jamie, mate. I was glad
that you were.
He's an ex-Lincoln lad, and he just thought, you know what, I'm going to do my ex-employer a bit of a favour. So He will.
He has a habit of that. He did it for Peterborough against Wednesday in the playoffs. So yeah, it's just it was a season of giving, I guess. So he decided to give a penalty. And I was thinking for a moment, Joe Wildsmith, I can't remember him saving a penalty. Maybe he has done, and Derby fans will remind me. But I actually fancied him to save it, and then it was just rolled in. And yeah, that's it really.
Not against Danny Mandroy, mate. He's scored 5 out of 5. He's one of the most lethal players on the penalty spot in this entire league. So, even though he had maybe, how many can you get in the South then? Maybe about 8,000 or 9,000, I would guess. Trying to put him off, flashing torches, waving their hands around, just completely just slots it away nice. It's just what he does, mate. He's just that sort of player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very cool, calm and collected. Obviously, we talked earlier about the recent run. It's not been too good. What's been going on?
Well, you just said it was the festive period, so we've been very generous. We gave you 3 points. No, you weren't the 3 points. After that game, we've had a really tough run. If you look on the face of it, we had yourself, Bolton at home on Boxing Day, Northampton at home, and they were in a real run of form when we played them. And then we went up to Bloomfield Road. Blackpool, the team with the best home record in the entire division. So we had a really tricky sort of festive period to negate. And the Bolton game was good again. We were good value for a point, I thought. And then Danny Mandroy, the one who scored the penalty, was very silly. Got himself sent off. And then the pressure toll when you leave, when you're up against Bolton with 10 men for never mind 10 minutes, they're going to punish you, and eventually they got the goal, and they deserved the win. To be honest, we were hanging on for a 0-0 at that point. Northampton, it took us to go 2-0 down to start playing. We should have got something from that game. We had the opportunities. Sometimes when you have those games where you've got maybe 10, you have 10 really clear-cut chances to try and get something from it, and you only take one. And we were sat there thinking. And Northampton actually scored 2 really good goals on the face of it. So we got beat there. And then we went up to Blackpool, and it was sort of similar to the Derby game in some aspects. We were on top and well in the game, and then they scored and the heads went down, and the second goal was a mistake in the last minute. So yeah, it's not been a great festive period, to be honest. The only benefit from the festive period is that we were able to enter January and finally get some new forwards or some forwards in the building, because as you might remember when we spoke last time, I was talking about Jovan McCarmer, who got released by Derby as a youngster, having to leave the line. Hakeem Delican, playing up front. We've not got any strikers at that time, so luckily we've been able to add, dip into the market and bring 1 or 2 attackers, 3 attackers in, which has been pretty fun.
Yeah, I think we discussed how desperate you were for a forward and some extra kind of firepower, and we kind of said, didn't we? I think everyone in the division would cry out for a striker. I mean, since we probably last spoke, James Collins has gone from strength to strength, and actually we're probably a little bit less needing at the moment, although some Derby fans wouldn't agree with that. Tell me about those faces that you've brought in then.
Yeah, just on Collins, it was a great header last night. I thought it was a really, really good finish. Thought he'd won the game at that point as well. But the lads that we brought in then. So, one of them, Jack Moylan, it's one of those deals. I'm not sure if Derby heavily recruit from the League of Ireland, but Lincoln see it as a market that we tap into very often. I think of Dylan Duffy came from the League of Ireland, Danny Mandroy, who came from the League of Ireland. We send youngsters out on loan there to go and get some experience. And a guy who was a top goal scorer in that division, Jack Moylan, he played for Shelbourne, helped them qualify for, I think they got the European Conference League. They came 4th in the League of Ireland, which gets you some sort of European football. We were linked with him all summer, and we essentially announced him the day after the transfer window shut for purposes so we don't have to pay the full value of what he's worth. And that meant he couldn't then play for Lincoln until after the 1st of January. So he came in. He ended the season with Shelbourne. I think he scored 5 goals in the last 2 games, got them to Europe, came joint top scorer in the division. He then had a couple of weeks off and then came to Lincoln, got settled in and has been training with the lads for best part of 3 months. And then Freddie Draper, who is a name I'm not sure will be familiar with Derby fans. He's actually a Derby boy, a bit like McCarthy. He got released by Derby when he was younger, came to Lincoln. He'd been out on loan at Drogheda in the League of Ireland, like I mentioned, scored 8 goals for them, and then made the move to Warsaw because they've got a bit of an ownership. They're sort of dual ownership, a bit like how Man City have a couple of teams, it's called the Travella Group. They've just bought Drogheda and they're now bought Warsaw. He went into League Two and scored 10 goals, I think, in the first half of the season. And when your top scorer, your own player is a top scorer out on loan, and you probably are going to recall him back. And we did. So he got injured in the New Year's Day game away at Grimsby, but he then came back and he started on Saturday at Wickham. And then the final one, Joe Taylor, who I think quite a lot of top teams in this league would have been looking at because he was a centre forward. He scored 12 goals in 27 or 25, 20, I want to say 27 for Colchester, and they're down the bottom of League Two. And he's on loan from Luton, but he's a Norfolk boy. He's come through at Norwich and he went to Peterborough and places like that. But he's come in, so now we play 2 up front. So it's it's completely different to what you would have seen on the 23rd from going to having no attackers. And pretty much now with Rico Hackett getting back fit and Teddy Bishop being back fit, and Danny Mandroy, who's now going to be free from his suspension, I think on Saturday as well. Skabala's a bit like a kid in a toy shop. He's got all of it, not all, because we would have Ben House and he would be our first choice, but we've got the majority of our tools back. So hopefully we'll be a bit of a difficult entity for you this time around.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, again, as we said, that was something that you needed to do. You needed to bring in some firepower. You've done it, and hopefully that's going to put you in good stead to, I suppose, have a good run at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You obviously mentioned Taylor. Did you say Taylor?
Yeah,
Am I right? Taylor, yeah. So I'm just trying to think about all the names you said.
There's too many for me to remember, Jake.
There is. It was absolute information overload from you there, Jake. But yeah, on Taylor, I think, like you said, I think there's a lot of teams that are interested. I know I've got a friend that's a Cambridge fan, and there'd been some interest potentially there, or maybe some rumour. And again, hot property. If you are scoring goals, I don't think it's that much of a step up to kind of come from League Two to League One as a goal scorer. If you know where the back of the net is, I think it's easy to kind of make that move. So interesting to see how he plays on Saturday. Who I know we've obviously talked about, and it was only a matter of weeks ago that we talked about ones to watch. But I guess in terms of player form, who's kind of performing to their best at the moment?
Crikey, there's a couple that I could really throw in. The one that I thought actually had an exceptional night at Pride Park and really excelled that night was Ethan Errahan in midfield, number 6. I thought he looked every inch a Championship player. I'm not trying to earmark him for a move to Derby, but if you boys get promoted and you're after a midfielder, which I know you are, he would be a really, really sensible addition if you can pay the money. He controls games. He's only 22. He's got that little bit of bite about him. He's just so clever with the ball at his feet. Like, he's in such tight situations and he's able to get out and wriggle his way out. The one that I will throw in that didn't even feature in the game against you lot is Rico Hackett. So he got injured away at Fleetwood in October with a hamstring injury and only came back on Saturday. And for half an hour, he looked genuinely unbelievable. Looked like the wide player that we've been missing for so long. Someone that's willing to beat a man, put a cross in, and I think I would put those two in. TJ Omer as well. He played, scored against Northampton over Christmas as well. He's been excellent at left-sided centre back, but didn't play at Wickham because we've got so many good centre backs. So those are the 3 that I'd earmark out at the moment. But it could all be changed, and none of them could be playing on Saturday. That's how good it is.
Yeah, I guess that's the option. So you don't know how the team's going to set up.
Mm.
Obviously, we were talking very early days of Skubala when we first had the chat a couple of weeks ago. Has there been any? I know obviously there's new face in the door, so that might have changed things. But is there anything changed in terms of his fundamentals? Is there anything that he's doing now that he wasn't doing when we had that initial chat?
Yeah, so I think what's really important to note when you talk about Michael Skubala coming into Lincoln was he joined at a period where we played a ridiculous amount of games in such a short space of time. And I include, from when he came in at the start of November, we've been pretty much Saturday, Tuesday in competitions until New Year's Day, which has been hectic. And, when you're a manager that wants to come in and change a load of things and you don't have the time on the training ground, I think he said before the Blackpool game, he had 2 tactical training sessions with the entire team. And when you're a new coach trying to put your philosophy on a group of players, that's going to be extremely difficult for them to understand. So then after the Blackpool game, we didn't have a game on FA Cup weekend when you played Fleetwood because we went to play Shrewsbury and they went through to the third round and got beat by Wrexham. So he had from the Blackpool game until the Wycombe game on Saturday last week to really work with the players. And the first hour, you couldn't tell at all because they were just completely ignoring it, seeing what he said. But the last half an hour, I think, is what Skubala wants to bring. It's constant, relentless pressure on the back line, getting as many bodies on the top line as we can in terms of 2 centre forwards, 2 wide players, wing backs overlapping and getting involved as well. Midfielders stepping up and creating havoc. Lots of entries into the box, lots of crosses, lots of delicate passes around the 18 as well. So I think you'll see a bit more of that, hopefully. It is different because at Pride Park, he was his hand was a little bit foresight with injuries and selection. And again, like I say, not having the time on the training ground. So I'd like to think there's going to be a difference. I think Derby fans will notice a bit of a difference.
Yeah, that's good information and good to know. And we're looking forward to seeing it on Saturday. Derby fans will obviously be hoping we can come and get a result. And actually on the road, we've been quite good this season. Definitely a lot better than at home. I know you watched the game last night. What were your thoughts on Derby last night?
Yeah, it was. It's really strange because I thought first half you were pretty good. I thought Mendes, Lang, and Barkhuizen were very problematic for Burton. You were able to cut through them at times and probably could have scored a couple more. Then the second half comes out, you get the second goal. It's a really good move again. It's a great header by, I think it was Mendes, Lang to Collins, and it's a great, really good finish. And at 2-0, I'm sat thinking, Derby have won. And can't wait to play them on Saturday because they're in a bit of form, especially with the best away record in the league now, 28 points in 13 games. And then, to be fair, I think you have to give Burton a lot of credit. They showed a lot of courage and they sort of stepped out, going 2-0 down, woke them up a little bit. First goal, I thought, was, from a Derby point of view, quite a sloppy one to give away in terms of, it comes off Curtis Nelson, I think, and deflects past Josh Vickers. I've seen a few Derby fans blaming Josh Vickers. I love the bloke. He still lives about 5 minutes outside of Lincoln, so he's a bit of a cult hero in Lincoln. So I'm not going to blame him for that. And as a goalkeeper, I'm never going to say goalkeeper's at fault. And then the second one, obviously, I think Callum Elder probably should do a lot better. But Hugh Gill, the lad from Man United, did really well to finish it. And from that point, I'm thinking, Derby have got a bit of a basketball match here. It was end to end. Burton had opportunities. Labala had one. I think, there was one, I can't remember who it was, that I thought, Derby should have scored that. And then it just gets to the end of games, and Paul Warne teams are renowned for being so fit. Like this Rotherham team that he had for years was so fit and went to the end. And when that ball dropped down for Hourihane, I think from a Derby point of view, there was no one better for it to fall to. At that moment, a player who's had so many big moments in his career, scored so many great goals. I mean, the goal that he scored against us was phenomenal. It was a great strike. And once he stepped back and put it on his left foot, it was a great strike. And I don't think you can blame the keeper at all. So, I thought you played well for an hour, and then Burton were the better team for half an hour. But you got your moments right, and all top teams get the moments right, and it's looking that you guys are going to be involved in the automatic hunt, which will be exciting for you lot, no doubt.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's starting to settle in now that we can think that, and we can have those conversations.
For sure.
Obviously, weekly you're chatting about all things League One on that League One podcast.
Yes.
What are you guys saying about the automatic race then? How do you see it?
Well, for me at the minute, I think Barnes at the time of recording are actually where they are still getting beat. So I think you can sort of discount Oxford and Barnsley, and then you've got pretty much a 4 straight, race between yourselves, Pompey, Peterborough, and Bolton. For me, the strongest team out of those 4 are Bolton. I think they are phenomenal. I think they're holding Luton to a point, a draw at the moment. Pardon me. Too many beers, Jamie. Yeah, I think they're extremely strong. They've got depth, and the thing with Bolton is, they'll know that they are going to get promoted this year, and they'll bring in 3 or 4 championship-ready players to come into this squad and help them get over the line, because that's how good they are. And when these big clubs are run right, there's no chance for the rest of us. So for me, Bolton are pretty much home and hose. I mean, they've got games in hand, so that helps them. I don't think that second spot is really open. So if you were pointing a gun at me, Jamie, and said who's going to get second spot, and if you weren't a Derby fan, I'd probably be saying Peterborough. For me, you'd have seen it on New Year's Day. They've got so much attacking talent. Mason Clark, Kwame Poku. I think the 2 in midfield, Collins and Cipriano, are fantastic in holding it down. They've got Ronnie Edwards, who's probably a £10 million player, rolling around at the back. And they're just so good going forward. I just think they're going to outscore so many teams. I think that's their game plan, really. And then, look, I think Portsmouth and Derby have a chance, but the reason I put those 2 in a bracket just outside is because you guys have got a bit of work both to do in the transfer window. So I look at Portsmouth; they've lost Regan Poole, who for me, and it won't be very popular saying this on a Derby podcast, is Regan Poole for me is the best defender in the league by some distance. I know Aaron Cashin is very good, and don't worry, he's up there in my top 3. But you've lost a player like him with an ACL; he won't play again this year. They've just lost Alex Robertson, who's massive for Pompey. They've lost 2 really big players, and they're going to have to replace them. And as of the 16th of January, they've not quite done that yet. And then I look at Derby, and I think what the Derby need, well, very clearly they need a wide player for me. Corey Blackett-Taylor would be a really good option if you can buy him. But buying in January is so difficult because, you've got, not only have you got to deal with Charlton and you pretty much, they can hold you to ransom over a fee. Is he going to come in and hit the ground running? Because if you spend so much money and he doesn't hit the ground running, Derby fans get on his back. I think you maybe need a number 10 as well. I don't see Max Bird, Louis Sibley, Conor Hurahan in that sort of number 10 there, sort of 6s and 8s. So I think a number 10 would be really good to pull the strings and play it one side to Blackett-Taylor, to Mendes-Lang, and to feed Collins. And then if you can keep Aaron Cashin as well, and Max Bird, I think you will do, especially after you exercise the right in Cashin's contract. I think you've got a really good chance, but you've got to recruit right. If you recruit right, if you and Portsmouth recruit right, God help the other 2. But there's a lot of work to do for Derby, I think, and if you do it, you're giving yourselves every chance. But you certainly going into those playoffs as surely the favourite. So not all doom and gloom, but I have got Derby 3rd at the minute to finish. But I think Derby fans would be quite happy with that, actually.
Yeah, well, I think now we probably wouldn't, because there's that expectation of being able to chase down the top 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 2-3 months ago, we would have snapped your hand off for 3rd place when we're sitting outside the playoffs. And yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think you bang on there. For me, it's probably 2 of 4. The 4 we've mentioned: Bolton, Peterborough, Derby, and Pompey. I think Peterborough are probably the best team that I've seen play this year at Pride Park. I was really impressed with them, as you said, those names that they've got. I really liked their number 14, Randall, as well. I think
Joel Randall. Yeah.
He's the kind of player I think we need, in those little pockets.
Magic.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, really, really good performance. I think he was superb. And I just don't know where they kind of create these players. Are they created in a lab somewhere in Cambridgeshire? Because
I'll tell you where they go,
churn them
Jamie.
out.
I'll tell you where they go. They seem to shop at Barnet quite a lot, and they seem to shop at Exeter. Collins and Randall have come from Exeter. You've got to bear in mind with a player like Randall, though, they paid £1 million for him reportedly. And he's been there a couple of years and he's not really hit the ground running. And a lot of Posh fans were saying, it's now or never for him, essentially. And to be honest, you've got to give him a lot of plaudits because he's really stepped up this year. And, I think once you find these pockets of, market parts of the market you can exploit, then you keep going back there and you can keep, especially with the rules now about going abroad and registering abroad players from abroad. A club like Derby could really be tapping into somewhere like Germany or Holland or the Portuguese league. Lincoln are trying to do it with Ireland, which is taking a bit of time to come to fruits. But if you can keep going to these, smaller, because there's a lot of talent in League One at the minute, and if Derby can exploit that, then there's no reason why top two isn't out of the question this year.
Yeah, I think Derby fans are a little bit scared of bringing in players from overseas. It happened in the 90s and it worked in the 90s with Wanchop and Bayano, Aranio, those kind of players. I can only tell you them players because I'm currently playing Championship Manager 97 that I've managed to get on my phone, which is pretty incredible. My memory doesn't cast back that far, unfortunately. But yeah, it just seems that when we've tapped into, I suppose, European markets, the likes of Raul Albentosa that came over from Spain and just didn't cut it. And we've had Mike Taviric as well that came over from Holland. These players that were billed as very, very good players and players that were going to take us to the next level just haven't worked out.
Yeah. Was that Polish guy, wasn't there?
Jozwiak.
That's him. Yeah, he was there when
again.
I was at Derby, yeah.
Yeah, again, came with such a brilliant, reputation and is now playing for, I think he's still at Charlotte in the US, which is a peculiar move in my eyes because he was at one time a Polish international, I think, until Matty Cash declared himself Polish, and then he's not been in the squad since. So, yeah, it's a funny one, but I think everyone in this league is looking to find that diamond that they can either put straight in their first team and can fire them up the league, or in 6 months, a year's time, sell for X amount more. And that's the reality of this division. Obviously, for Derby, the first thing I said there about firing up the league is a bit more possible. But if you're a lower league team, you are actually looking at what you can get for players when they perform well. So we'll have to see what happens. Back to Lincoln then. Obviously, when we spoke last time, aspirations were potentially looking at that playoffs. How high can we finish? That kind of thing. After this run, where's kind of the expectation? Where's the aspiration now, Jake?
In the bin. I've forgotten top six. I'm all about 24, 25. Bring it on. No, to be honest, it would always be a stretch, especially given our injury crisis, for us to get in the top six, I think. And plus, you've got to have so many things fall for you to, you've got to have teams underperforming, and unfortunately, all the teams are performing. So you think of yourself, Bolton, Peterborough, Oxford, Pompey. They're all performing extremely well. There's not like a couple of years ago we had Ipswich falling down, finishing top 10. Portsmouth have been finishing around upper mid-table sort of, and you can find a way in there, but we're not having that this year. So yeah, for me, the aspiration for this year is try and grow as many assets as we can. So we've got a lot of our players. We don't have many loanees. We have I think we have 3 loanees. So we want to try and asset build, and the players that are ours, make sure we're playing them regularly, make sure they're getting game time, making sure that we're playing this brand of football that's going to catch the eye of teams in divisions above, or teams that get promoted out of this league, so that when they get promoted and they want to come and find a midfielder or a striker, they go, that lad from Lincoln was pretty good. We think we can pay. Let's say we'll pay 800k, go and get him in. And we have got a number of assets at the club at the moment. I think we've got obviously Freddie Draper, if he can take the step up into League One, I think he'll be a really good asset. Ethan Errahan, I'm already sort of resigned to losing because he's so good. Ethan Hamilton as well, if he can have a really good second half of the season. Sean Rowan's another one who's only 21, I think, and he's a really good player. And if we can keep getting minutes into these lads and looking to sell them on and then buy the next one, I think we'll be doing really well. If you're going to ask me where I think Lincoln are going to finish, I think the top 8 are the top 8. I don't think we're going to break into that. I think the best we can look at is 9th realistically. Best of the rest if you can. And but at the minute, you look at the current form, and we look nowhere near 9th, and we look more like a 12th to 15th. But I think once we get the players back, and after we've done with you, because we've got you and Peterborough back-to-back weekends at home, which I am not looking forward to. Once we get them out of the way, we've got a really sort of reasonable run of fixtures where we play teams like Burton, Port Vale, Reading, Leyton Orient. I think we've got at home in coming weeks as well. Yeah, Exeter, Stevenage, Cambridge, Bristol Rovers. So that's where hopefully we're going to pick up the points to hopefully for the top 10 would be a great finish, despite everything that's happened to us this year. But playoffs are well and truly in the mud, Jamie, at this point for Lincoln, unfortunately.
Yeah, and thinking about Saturday then, your first test of 2 at home.
Yeah.
What's your prediction for the result, and who would you have as a goal scorer if you are saying you're going to score, which I think you will because you're positive.
Yep. On Teal-Up, I think I went for a 2-1 Derby win. I'm just frantically checking my notes. Yeah, I've gone for a 2-1 away win. You guys obviously have the away record. You've got a big crowd coming down, 2,000 odd. I think it's going to be really difficult asking. We have to be at 100% to try and get any result out of you. The more positive way that I'm looking at it now is that we've got our forward options back. So, I thought away at Derby, we were so blunt in attack, we'd get there and then the final ball would just be missing. Whereas this time, I think that final ball is more likely to be spot on. Like I said, I've gone 2-1 Derby. I think you guys will score a couple of goals, have a bit of fun going forward because we can be a bit of a shambles from a set piece, as you found out. And then if I had to say a Lincoln goal scorer, I think Joe Taylor's going to score in his home debut. That would be really good. But yeah, it's going to be a really, really tough afternoon. We're going to have to be at our very best if we want anything. And I'm just hoping Paul Warren doesn't listen and he's not going to come over and point at me and say, I told you I'm the right man for Derby. I told you. But yeah, no, I've gone 2-1 Derby, and yeah, I think that should. I could even see you moving to the automatics as soon as this weekend, so that'd be exciting for you guys.
Well, yeah, there was the chance to do that, and we messed that up yesterday. So who knows what will happen? But I think I agree. Whenever I think about us winning games, I never think about us now winning comfortably 2-0, 3-0, whatever that might be. It's always going to be by a goal, and I think 2-1's actually probably what I'd go for as well, and I'd definitely take it. I think we just need to continue the run. I think we do play better football away. I'm not too sure why that is. We seem to be playing better on the road. The atmosphere is a lot better in that away end than it is at the home end as well at Derby, and I know we talked about that last night. So yeah, I think it's set up for a 2-1 victory in my eyes, but who knows? We don't know. It's Derby County, and at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter who's wearing the shirt, who's in the dugout. They're always gonna test you as a fan. So we'll have to see. But it is set up to be another good game, and really appreciate you coming on and chatting to me again. Last time this season, so I won't get.
I won't see you again, mate. Well, when you guys get promoted, I'm going to be down here on my own in League One. I'm going to have no previews to do. But it's been. If you do go up this year, it's been great getting to know you guys and yourself, especially Jamie. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and let's hope you do get promoted. Let's hope Forest get relegated. That'd be even better for you.
Well, there's more chance of that now, isn't there? But
there is.
I think the Prem
10 points.
Yeah, well, I think the worry is the Prem is just so poor this year down the bottom there. I think even if they got deducted 10 points, they'd probably get away with it. Yeah, I'd say so. So we'll have to see on that one. But yeah, I hope you're right. I hope Derby do get promoted. It will be a good thing to happen. But I do enjoy League One, and I can definitely see why you guys have got together and discussed it, regularly. And I know you guys are doing really well, and there's lots to come from you guys. So yeah, if you do want to go check out that League One podcast, you can hear all about that and all about what they're getting up to. If you have enjoyed this episode, please do rate us 5-star, share us with your friends, share us with your family, tell your dog about us. I don't know. The more ears, the better. But yeah, really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we will be back on Sunday to talk about the Lincoln game. So we'll see you then. Cheers, Jake.
See you later.